All right, so to make this simple double exposure, I'm going to start with the photo of the person, sort of the background. First thing I'm going to do is make a duplicate of this layer with Command J. So I have two of him. Then I'm going to make a selection of the subject. I can use Quick Select tool, push the Select Subject button. We can always go into Select and Mask and hit that Refine Hair button, and then turn on Show Edge and make sure all that hair looks good. We might take the radius up, try to make sure we've got the whole edge refined. Just trying to make as clean a selection as possible, although it looked like it messed up a little bit down here. I'm going to add that back in because we want that included in the selection. Okay, looks good. I'm going to hit the mask button. Now, with that mask made and our double layers, we're ready to place in the photo that we're going to blend in. So I'm going to go to File, Place Embedded, or you could always drag it in from the Finder. Here is the one that I want. Sorry, hit Place. Now, I'm going to want to rotate this because I want the buildings going like this way. While I'm rotating, if I hold Shift, it'll click to, I think, 15-degree increments. So that way I can make sure I'm at 90 degrees perfectly. Now I can resize this image. If I wanted to, if you were kind of struggling, you could take the opacity of it down so you can kind of see how the final product might look. But the nice thing is we can always reposition this later if we need to. So it doesn't have to be perfect right this second. I'm going to say that's probably good. We can take the opacity back up, hit Enter to confirm my placement. Now all we need to do is apply this same mask to this layer. A couple different ways we can do it. One of the cool ways, you can just hold Option on your keyboard and click and drag on this mask to make a copy of it. So now I have the mask on both layers. Now we're looking close, right? We have a couple more things we need to do. Like on this mask of the buildings, I want to hide some of the buildings because I don't really want the buildings on his facial features like the forehead and the nose and stuff. So if I just hit B on my keyboard for brush, I'm going to use X to toggle over to black. And this is where this process kind of gets started with messing with the opacity of your brush while you're brushing on a mask. So, 100% opacity. I'm going to make sure I have a large brush, make sure my hardness is down. I want those soft edges. And if I do 100% opacity, I'm completely hiding the image of the water in the buildings. I think that might be too much. I'm actually going to try like maybe closer to 75% opacity. So I don't know that I want to completely hide it. I just want to mostly hide it. But I know I definitely want to hide it from the forehead there. And now what you can do is you can kind of start rolling back the opacity. So I was just at 75, I'll go down to like closer to 50, and I'll do kind of another pass here. And then maybe roll it down to 25 and do another pass. And so what I'm trying to do is create this blend, right, where I don't want a harsh edge between the two photos. I want them to kind of blend into each other. And the way I'm doing it is sort of manually with this mask and this brush opacity. So now I feel like we've got, basically, we're pretty much all the way there, right? And what we can do if we want is unlink the mask with the image of the buildings, hit V for our move tool, and then we can always, see right now I have the mask selected. I don't want to move the mask. I'm going to Command Z. I want the buildings selected. Now I can reposition the buildings. I can always resize and sort of play around with the exact placement. I do kind of like that tall building. I don't know if it'll work the image might end up getting too big. I think I'll keep it small. But you can see how you can play around with this as much as you like. And that looks pretty good. This was a very simple one that didn't really require much playing with the masks, only this top one. We'll look at some other examples that require a little bit more detail and playing with the masks, but for now this is a great one to start with because it's fairly straightforward. All right, for this double exposure, we're going to take it one step further and do one extra step. So I have this picture of my dog that we're going to use as sort of the profile. So we can, like we did last time, go ahead and make a duplicate layer. We can select the subject and make a mask. That should look pretty good. Make a mask. All right, now we're ready to bring in the image that we're going to put inside the profile. So we'll place embedded this picture of trees. I'll take the opacity down so I can kind of see what it might look like. I think I want the trees. I think I'm going to leave them in the normal upright position. We're going to kind of make them sort of something like that. Should be good. All right, now we just need to place this mask onto our tree layer. So I'll option click and drag the mask up. All right, that looks good. If we want, we can turn off this background layer. I'm not sure that we're going to need it. We'll see. So now one thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to duplicate the pixels of the dog and put them on top as a way to blend them in. So this is a little bit different than the last one we did. So I'm going to load up this selection by command clicking on the mask to get the same selection of the dog. Then if I select my dog layer and hit command J, see, I've just duplicated the dog pixels. And so now if I drag these dog pixels on top, I have it as a top layer. And now you can see if I were to start playing with the opacity of this top layer, we kind of get the double exposure effect that we're looking for. So now it's a matter of playing with things like blend modes and masks. So I will need a mask on this dog because I'm going to hide parts of this top dog. But I also may play with the blend mode. I'm not sure if I'm going to like a different blend mode just yet. It's possible that darken might work with a reduced opacity. That might look good. So with that, I will need to hide the back half of the dog because I really only want the dog's face showing. So if I grab my brush and I have black selected, take my opacity up all the way because I want to fully hide the dog back here so we see the trees. I'm kind of fully hiding the dog. And then I'll take the opacity down and kind of try to create this transition into the dog's neck and head. Something like this. It's looking good. I'm still not sure that I'm liking this blend mode. I kind of want to see more of the dog, so I might switch it back to normal with a higher opacity. Yeah, I think I like that. And it looks like I missed some of this down here, so I just need my black brush back. We'll hide all that. That's looking pretty good. One thing we might try doing is making the dog black and white. That's something you can always try. The way I would do that non-destructively would be to add a black and white adjustment layer. And you'll notice when I apply the adjustment layer, it makes everything black and white. If we only want it to apply to the layer beneath it, we can make it, it's called a clipping layer. It says clip to layer. So if I click that button and I look at the layers panel now, I see this little arrow key. It says clipping mask applied. It's only applied to this dog. So the dog is black and white, but the trees are not. The other way you can do that is if you hold Option on your keyboard and you hover between these two layers, you see this little icon appears. So right now the black and white is going to the entire document. If I hold Option and click on that same space, now it's just applied to the dog. So other things I might need to do, I could come into this mask and hide parts of the tree. We could see if that does anything. Right, like I know I don't really want trees on the dog's nose. So see, as I am brushing on the mask and hiding the trees here, it kind of makes the dog's features a little more defined. So I kind of like that. But again, to create the blend, I'm going to reduce the opacity as I get closer to the edge and do a couple different passes so that we don't have like a harsh transition. We want it to fade nicely. And maybe down to like 10%. Okay. Now it looks good. Now all we would need is to figure out the background. So I don't think that's going to look very good, the original background, so we'll probably just turn that layer off. Probably don't need it. Instead, I might just try a solid color. And then from here, we can try sampling a color from the picture and see if we like those results. Some kind of shade of off-white I think is going to be nice, but this dark kind of looks gross. I might try brightening it up. I might try coming closer to white, but just slightly off-white. Something maybe like that. And you can see the selection didn't work out. There's some messiness here. We could try to figure out where that spot is by coming into our mask and seeing if I brush on it here. Is it on this mask? Let's see. Whoops. Looks like I need the other color. Yep, there it was. So just showing that tree there and then hiding that little bit there. That might be in another layer as well. We might need to erase those pixels. Yeah, they were in the dog layer. So sometimes when you see blemishes in your designs, you kind of have to hunt for which layer they're in order to fix them. This looks okay. I'm not sure it's as good as the example I made before where I went for the full black and white. And I think I added some contrast to the dog with curves. So see how the dog's still kind of washed out. If I added another adjustment above it, curves, and I maybe pulled those, I may need to pull both the brights and the darks down a little bit. Yeah, something like that. Make the dog look a little more defined. There we go. And I'm liking that. That looks good.